your host, Michelle Burgess, on behalf of Case Western Reserve University's Women in Tech Initiative. In today's discussion, we'll be joined by Carmen Fontana from Centric Consulting. One of the things that you talked about and from your website was outrageous goal setting. Yep. I'd love to hear more about that. And I know that dabbles between your personal life in regards to how you look at goal setting, but also your professional life.
So at age 30, I was diagnosed with bone cancer in my left femur bone, my left leg, pretty much out of the blue. At that point of time, I was, an organic milk drinking. I'd run the Boston Marathon. I had a toddler and a baby. I felt like I was killing it. And then completely out of left field, I was diagnosed with cancer. And for me, I needed something to aspire to get me out of the day-to-day drowning in thinking about chemo and radiation and how to parent with 2 small children while you're sick and keep up your job responsibilities. It was just so much. So I needed something a little bit outrageous to aspire to. So laying there on the couch, my crutches next to me, my ice on my cancer leg, I kind of hatched the idea, what if I tried to qualify for the Boston Marathon post-cancer? And at that point, it was pretty outrageous because I had, cancer riddled through my left leg, which is kind of important when you're a runner. But having that big goal looming out there allowed me to get through the day-to-day, the tough in-between battles, and let me focus on what was ahead. So having an outrageous goal, such as qualifying for the Boston Marathon post-cancer in your leg, really was important to me to help with my healing from the cancer.
And what did that look like for you? Was it coming up with small milestone steps? Hey, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to do this next month. Like, what did that process look like?
Yeah, I did have to break it down into very, very small digestible steps because there was a point in time where I wasn't even allowed to walk across the living room. I had to have crutches to go from the couch to the bathroom, right? And so I set very small goals. When I was not allowed to even move, I would go to the pool and see if I could aqua jog for 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and then 15 minutes, which is aqua jogging. And if you've ever done it, you have a flotation vest around your waist and you're running in place in the deep end of the pool. Incredibly boring. Everybody looks at you strangely. But those little goals, they add up. And so eventually I was able to walk. So I'd walk a little bit further each day. And then eventually I was allowed to run. And so, one thing led to another. Each of these small goals compounded, and to the point where I was able to run a whole marathon and yes, achieve my outrageous goal of re-qualifying for the Boston Marathon post-cancer.
That is incredible. And when was that race that took place?
Oh gosh. So I had my second son in 2008 and he was 9 months old when I was diagnosed. So that was 2009. And spent about a year of treatment and then did the race. So it's about, I qualified about a year after completing treatment.
Do you continually set mini outrageous goal settings for you or how have you continued that mentality? Because that's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find I'm most drawn to outrageous goals when things are at their toughest. And we all are having a really tough time as a society with the pandemic and racial unrest, and just there's a lot going on. And I think we're all feeling the burden. And I certainly have been feeling the burden. And, a couple months into the pandemic, I felt like I was really getting to that place where I'm just addicted to doomsday scrolling on Twitter, and it just feels like there's no hope. And one of the things I returned to was outrageous goal setting. And one of the things I'm interested in is trail running. I like to hike, I like to bike with my family. And I was aware of the Buckeye Trail, which is a 1,400 mile trail all around Ohio. And I said, what if I just eventually conquer the Buckeye Trail? I'm not going to through hike it. I've got a day job and kids that need to go to soccer practice. But breaking that down, what if I did 200 miles per year? It would take 7 years to do that. And then how many miles per week would I need to do that? Well, about 4 miles. And so my pandemic project is, hey, I'm going to start knocking off 4, 5, 6 miles a week against the Buckeye Trail to add up eventually to that goal of trying to do the entire trail, in 7, 8, 9 years. And so it is kind of, I'm not curing coronavirus. I'm not fixing racial injustices, but I am having small goals that add up to something and allow me to pull out of this pandemic sadness spiral, if you will, and as a result, bring my best self to the other parts of my life.
Wow. I'll have to look at that, the Buckeye Trail. That sounds like something especially for Ohioans to take a look at and be able to just experience life in a new way. So that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice because compared to the Appalachian Trail, which is very remote and you really have to backpack it, the Buckeye Trail is very accessible no matter where you live in Ohio. Much of it is bikeable, and it goes through cities, it goes through national parks, goes through county parks. So it's a little bit for everybody. So it's kind of a fun adventure for anybody looking out for it.
Have you been able to adopt or kind of integrate that mentality of outrageous goal setting? Like, have you been able to do that in your consulting work or helped others within your organization to say, hey, we're here today, but let's evolve here, in the coming years?
For sure. And I think with organizations, business organizations, it's important to lift your head up and look at the horizon, because a lot of times we get stuck in the day-to-day going through our inbox, trying to knock off our task list. And it's important to take a step back and say, who do we want to be in 20 years as a company? Where do we need to be in 10 years? What are our 3 to 5 year goals? And really have a bigger picture versus accomplishing the to-do list for the day. And we don't know what the business is going to be in 20 years. We don't even know at this point what it's going to be in a year and a half. But by having those long-term visions, it allows you to make more informed in the moment decisions. So if I know this is the culture and the type of technology and et cetera, that we want to be as an organization that we aspire to, in those day-to-day decisions, I can use that as a metric, as a comparison point to make sure that I'm making the right decision in that moment.